We now move to West Asia for our next story. And US envoy Jared Kushner and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu met in Jerusalem to discuss the first and second phases of the US brokered ceasefire deal in Gaza. According to Netanyahu's spokeswoman, Shosh Bedrosian, the two leaders focused on the current phase, which is ongoing, and the future of Phase 2. Phase 2 of the plan involves the disarmament of Hamas, the demilitarization of Gaza, and ensuring Hamas has no role in the region's future. Additionally, the plan includes the establishment of an international stabilization force, with deals still under discussion. This agreement aims to bring long-term stability to Gaza after years of conflict. Let's listen in to what the Israeli spokesperson had to add.
I can share with you today that Special Envoy Jared Kushner is here in Israel and had a meeting with the Prime Minister this morning in his office here in Jerusalem. Together, the two discussed Phase 1, which we are currently still in to bring our remaining hostages, and the future of Phase 2 of this plan, which includes the disarming of Hamas, demilitarizing Gaza, and ensuring Hamas will have no role in the future of Gaza ever again. Phase 2 also includes the establishment of the International Stabilization Force, and the details of which, of course, together are being discussed.
We're now joined by Mark Sutherland. He's a geopolitical commentator and he joins us live from London. Mark, thank you very much for joining us here on NewsX World, as always. Of course, this has been long in the waiting, as the first phase has transpired. Some would say in a manner which has not been very good. Of course, we've seen violence between both the sides. And now, do you think it's right to be discussing the second stage of the ceasefire, given the fragility of the first one?
Thomas, good to be with you again. You asked a straight answer, and I'll give you an answer no, and I'll explain why. I was recently, a few days ago, I was actually in the Gaza envelope myself at the kibbutzim near us, which is where the Bibas family were living until they were kidnapped, and the awful tragedy there, where there were 400 residents of that kibbutzim and 200 of them were killed or kidnapped. So I'll just put that in the context. The situation is this, is that the Hamas fighters, that is the whole idea, is to clear them out and to get them to surrender and to get them to disarm. That is ongoing. Also, we celebrate that the 20 live hostages were released, and there is a number, very sadly, of the dead hostages remains being returned. There was also a soldier who was returned that was killed in 2014. These are all things to celebrate and be grateful for that. But Hamas are still there. There's 200 soldiers that are, sorry, not 200. There are a number of their terrorists that are trapped at the moment in a tunnel underground that may actually mask some of these negotiations. And also, Thomas, which is what is the international force to go in there? Yes. I mean, politically, I don't particularly think it's very good in Israel's interests to then have Qatar, to then have Turkey involved in this in regard to saying, right, are they then actually going to contribute and try and create peace in that situation? And also to remember, Erdogan, in the last 48 hours, has then issued arrest warrants against Bibi, the Prime Minister of Israel, Bibi Netanyahu, and other members of the government. So we have a situation that is profoundly fluid, to say the least, but it's about securing, in Israel's eyes, it's about securing their own security, and with Hamas still being involved in Gaza, then that is not going to be fulfilled until they disappear. If they do, and if you then fully disarm them, which is what we all want, but whether that happens, we're going to wait and see. Thanks, Thomas.
Yeah, and obviously, of course, Donald Trump has spoken about this. J.D. Vance actually spoke about this, about the US essentially putting pressure on Netanyahu's the Netanyahu administration in order to get this peace deal. Do you think that, of course, Israel has drawn some red lines? It doesn't want Turkey as part of this international stabilization force, among other things. Do you see the US making the decisions here and perhaps Netanyahu possibly conceding even more in this second phase?
Well, we're going to wait and see. Let's just remember something about Turkey and Erdogan in regard to the fall of Assad and the bringing in of Jelani there. This is something that we also have to remember with their involvement in regard to Syria. So it's no wonder that Israel very much so has the concerns that it did, especially as the Syrian leader used to have a very high price on his head in regard to capture or death by the American authorities. So all of that is playing out. He's someone that's about to be visiting and meeting President Trump in the White House. That's another discussion. But it all contributes to all this in regard to their concerns. Now, also, I'll just be frank and say this: there are also concerns because Kushner and Witkoff also then have business deals with the Qatarians. That has to be said as well, and put that on the table. Diplomacy, politics is at the end of the day can be an extremely difficult game, and at times an extremely dirty game. But for the Israel authorities, government, they are remembering the 7th of October 2023 and the security of their own nation. There's a lot more to shake out in that regard. And I would say to you, in my own personal opinion, that I think Jared Kushner, Steve Witkoff need to see it through the eyes of Israeli security and understand that. As I said earlier, the amount of residents from one particular kibbutz, all of these that were murdered or taken hostage in the other events on that day around the Nova Festival and beyond, these factors are something that I believe Israeli citizens are not forgetting right now, and they want security, and also they want to be in a position that the situation that we've seen in Gaza since 2005 and then 2007 when Hamas were then elected is that stops, period, and that never happens again. And that is all on the table. And if I may say by ending this, and I do, to say that this is maybe far more this is far more complex than the Trump administration maybe wishes to face. I'm rather curious that it hasn't been the Foreign Secretary Rubio at the center of all of this negotiation. It's complex, but people also have to remember the links that other people have, and I don't necessarily think that they are good, particularly in Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner's case. Thomas.
Yes, Mark, do stay with us as we have